Pat. We have Pat Rosebank here. Pat, how you doing?
Okay.
Look at that. Okay.
Just casual. I mean, you know.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Sequins, feathers.
Can we
the
zoom
usual.
Is that the princess necklace or something, or the
Actually,
princess
this
of Wales
necklace
or
and
something?
these earrings were marketed under the Joan Collins brand, and I bought them in England in 1991 when I lived there for a summer.
Oh my!
And I must show you as well.
Oh my!
Whoa.
I
Oh.
rhinestoned those myself.
Oh my God!
Whoa.
get them?
How long did that take?
Goes well with the leg.
Little higher. There are close to 4,000 rhinestones
Rhinestone. my
on
goodness.
this pair of shoes.
Holy smokes! And that must be.
I
worth,
made everything that I'm wearing.
But the necklace it must be worth thousands of dollars.
No,
that you
I
feel
think
safe.
it only cost me about 150 pounds for both.
Amazing good
Now, back
deals.
then, a pound
Yeah.
was worth about 250. So,
Yeah, yeah.
And those
But
are real
yeah.
diamonds.
yes, they are. But yeah, I made all of my costume stuff here. Rhinestoned my own glasses.
You did that to your glasses?
Yes, rhinestoned the flower. I have a whole drawer full of these little $2 flowers that have
Yeah.
about 20 bucks worth of rhinestones on them.
Yeah.
So I work in a theater, so my uniform is black and gray.
Uh-huh.
I have to do something.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't stand pure black and pure gray, no offense. But so I have to have color. So
Yeah.
I'll wear these, or I have another pair of glasses that are cobalt blue with rhinestones that the color's called volcano.
Yes.
So it's like a mix of orange and purple and blue, and it's, you know, one of these multicolor ones.
Yeah.
So I've got those, and always one of the flowers.
Yeah.
You know, like Rosemary on the Dick Van Dyke Show. Her thing was always having a little black bow. Well, mine is always having a flower.
You watched the Dick Van Dyke Show?
Yeah, it was in syndication when I was really little.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a little bit older, but okay. I did
Yeah.
that. I saw it with some of the original, but then that's great.
Yeah,
So,
I love the old school stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I used to watch your show of shows when Global had it on really late at night. When I was at U of T, I like to say that I got my BA somehow, my BA in English at U of T, but I got my real education from cutting class, going to the Metro Reference Library, and studying old comedy films. Like, there's a Laurel and Hardy film
Yeah.
called Leave 'Em Laughing, where they go to the dentist's office to have a tooth pulled, and of course they all get stoned on the laughing gas. But I actually did a term paper for Film Studies 101 in this. And graphed the action. You know, you got your time going straight across, and then each little segment, the bedroom segment, the dentist's office segment,
yeah.
and then driving home, it all loops off of that.
Yeah.
And even after analyzing it to death, I still find it hilarious.
Right.
Well, wait a sec.
Laurel and Hardy are my favorites.
So, okay, so what kind of analysis was that?
Well,
With
it
these
was
loops?
just, you know, breaking it down and the rhythm of it. And, you know, I love Laurel and Hardy stuff and Hal Roach comedies in general, because the comedy is character driven and plot driven. It's not just like a Keystone Cops thing
course.
where it's just mayhem,
course.
and the Stooges where it's, again, just, you know, random mayhem and violence.
But what was it? A presentation that the class shared with you, or was
No, it was a term paper.
A term
you know, we
paper,
just had to
okay.
do whatever, and
I'm sure he liked it though. Whoever
yeah.
she. Okay.
Did you learn how to do comedy better because you studied it?
well, yeah, I mean, you learn from the masters. You
Yeah.
really do. And I mean, I can look at Benny Hill, and my brain was like Benny Hill's, because you've got all these classic comedy things and the gags in the back of your mind. It's like a filing cabinet. So you've got the situation, okay, I'll use this gag. I can look at Benny Hill, and if he's doing physical stuff, I can tell you exactly who first did it, you know, which film it came from.
Oh, really? So he's borrowing from...
Charlie
Yeah,
Chaplin?
well,
or
Charlie
whatever?
Chaplin himself said, nothing is new.
Okay, let me
Okay.
ask you something then, because we're talking about comedy.
Okay.
Okay? I know you do a whole bunch of other stuff, but we're on this topic now. But Seinfeld. What do you think of Seinfeld?
Well, I know it's sort of inspired by Abbott and Costello, in that, you know, it's about nothing. Like each week you can have a different plot. But I never really got into it. Abbott and Costello, I think I like them, partly because it's old burlesque humor. I mean, you know, people say that their TV show preserved all these classic burlesque routines, like Crazy House and so forth. But it also had the real heart and vulnerability of Lou Costello.
Who was the? I forgot. Who was the guy that was hyper? That got the laughs.
That
like
was
Elvis got
Lou,
the laughs.
the short, fat one.
That was
That was Lou Costello.
Lou Costello. Okay.
And then Abbott was the
anchor.
yeah, the anchor.
Okay.
And what you may not know is in burlesque teams and comedy teams,
Yeah.
the pay was usually divided 60-40, with 60% going to the straight man
Really?
Because it was much harder to be the straight man
To
and
anchor
do
it.
the feed lines and
Yeah.
anchor it
Okay.
and not crack up
Right, right, right.
than to be the comic. But there
Nice.
is a Laurel and Hardy connection to Abbott and Costello,
Of course,
which is really
please.
cool. There's a Laurel and Hardy film called Battle of the Century, which has like the greatest pie fight ever because each one was thrown for a reason. And
I see. Yeah. I
yeah,
saw
it's
it.
one of those things where it starts small and it's just tit for tat, building, building,
Yeah,
building.
yeah,
And they finally found the first reel about 20, 25 years ago, and the first reel takes place in a boxing match. And if you look real close, in the front row, one of the extras is Lou Costello. You can really clearly make out that it's him. They think it may have been his first film appearance when he came to Hollywood, just, you know, as an independent. He hadn't really hooked up with Abbott yet.
Isn't
Wow.
that something?
Okay, so I didn't realize that Seinfeld was based on Abbott
Well,
and Costello.
it was inspired by it.
Okay.
Because Seinfeld really loved Abbott and Costello, and that it was ostensibly a show about nothing.
Oh.
You know, I mean, there's
Okay.
one episode of Abbott and Costello that was my favorite, though, and that was Lou's birthday, where Lou, again, screws up, mistakes ant paste for antipasto, so nearly inadvertently poisons everyone, for which he gets kicked out of the rooming house. Abbott kicks him out. Mike the cop is gunning for him, etc.
My gosh, you know, you got your PhD in this stuff.
Exactly. I
just-
should have. But,
yeah.
you know, Lou then goes, and he's just, you know, so heartbroken. At least Hillary, his sometime girlfriend, she is sympathetic to him. But, you know, this poor little guy, and then he goes to Mr. Butchigaloop's bakery, and he's saying, oh, well, I want, my dream cake would be like this and this and this. And, you know, he's getting fancier and fancier. And then he says, oh, well, I don't have any money to pay for it. So he winds up being shoved into it. But just,
Great.
you know, you can really feel the pain and
Yeah.
the heart.
Oh, 'cause
and
of
I
course
mean,
the heart.
Costello really suffered in real life, too. Like, they called him Hard Luck Lou.
Was the Thin Man of any influence, Powell?
Not
It was
as
more
much. I mean,
serious than-
it's very elegant. It was also
Yeah.
done, I believe, by Hal Roach. But
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was very dapper, very elegant, very
Yes.
refined.
Yeah.
I kind of preferred the Laurel and Hardy stuff because they were like
It was
every
out
man.
there. And Groucho Marx to some extent?
Not really, because that's just rapid fire wordplay.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes wordplay is fantastic. It's very clever, and I like it. But,
Right.
you know, again, the Marx Brothers, you can't picture them existing in real life.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Where
You
you're
can't
coming
picture
from
the Stooges in real life.
here. Right. No.
Laurel and
my
Hardy?
mom hated the Stooges,
Yeah,
actually.
I don't like them either.
Yeah.
But
I liked when they went to Mars. That's the only time I liked them.
Laurel and Hardy, they could exist. I mean, I think of them as, you know, although they didn't call it they didn't call it this back then, but I picture them as they've got ADD. They have ADHD because one of the things you learn about ADHD is your socio-emotional age is about 30% lower than your physical age. You have difficulty communicating. You have reduced impulse control. So, you know, if somebody, you know, say somebody slams your Christmas tree in the door and wrecks it, well, you're just going to go and prise off their doorbell. And it's tit for tat growing.
Yeah.
How come you know so much about ADHD, Pat?
Well, about 2 years ago, I found out I have it.
Get out.
And therein is another mysterious connection in life. When I was a teenager, I started going to radio tapings at the CBC, you know, their old Cabbagetown studio.
Yeah.
First one I ever went to was October of '84, Frantic Times. And I remember thinking, you know, oh, I wish I could be like those guys. And then, you know, a couple of years ago, there was an article in the Star, Rick Green of the Frantics, and then, you know, he wrote
He's
Red
all
Green.
about the
and-
ADHD. He was on
He-
this show talking
Yeah,
about.
he found out he had it when his kid was diagnosed, and he saw the paperwork and said, I bet I could score higher, and he did. So there was this interview with Rick in the paper a couple of years ago. My brother sent it to me and said, this sounds just like you. Went to the Totally ADD site, did the tests, scored 100%.
So
and
what?
then,
Did you get on some good medication?
Well, yes and no. Unfortunately, my psych had taken on way too many people. I think he was ADHD too. And he had to drop about half of us, so I've been waiting for almost a year to get a new one, and my doctor doesn't want to play with the different meds. Plus, when you have ADHD, it often shows up with friends, like depression and anxiety. So I'm on medication for that, but it's not really helping with the ADHD, although, you know, I have put different structures into place, like I have a really loud timer, and I set it for 15 minutes before my call time at work. Like I live 5 minutes from where I work, so. But just to make sure that I will not be late.
You know what? I don't know if I buy this ADHD stuff. And
Oh, what don't you buy? Do you think that perhaps the brain scans that show reduced activity in the right prefrontal cortex are perhaps falsified?
But
or
wait.
do you believe that perhaps
Now you're sounding
the
like a lawyer.
criteria is set too high? Like maybe you don't need quite as many of the criteria?
Yeah.
and-
Well, I think there was a time when they didn't even have these frontal precortex scanning devices, and people were just people. And
No,
this person
no.
is this way, and that person is that
No,
way.
no,
and now we're medicalizing everything.
Nope.
Pretty soon, everybody's going to have something wrong with
He's-
them because
he's just
nobody's
playing-
perfect.
he's just playing
Every
I know he's playing
imperfection
devil's advocate.
is just a.
I come from a long line of witches. Plus,
Really?
I am a soprano. I can hurt you
No, wait a
without
sec.
laying a finger
Wait,
on
wait,
you.
Let's get back to what about the witches? Let's talk about that.
Well, great grandmother was supposedly a witch. She knew how to curse crops, and she was a midwife.
Curse crops.
Yeah,
do
it
you
had to
mean?
do with sprinkling them with salt.
Well, that's not a curse. That's a chemical.
Well, apparently she muttered
application.
strange things under her breath when she did
Permutation
it.
of
you
letters
know, yeah.
borrowed from the
Yeah.
Zohar.
So there's like a
Kabbalism and
long
stuff.
line of women in my family that
Yeah.
have the sixth sense. Not much sign of the other five, but they have the sixth.
Okay. So, are you really a practicing witch?
No, I just kind of have an uncanny
You have
way
the
of getting
ability.
what I wish for.
Isn't that something?
And, you know, on the occasions when I have won things, I've seen it happening before it happens.
Can you twitch your nose and
No.
do things?
Mind
Okay.
you, I used to freak people when I was a little kid because my glasses would slip down and
Oh, I
I'd kind of
see.
be going like that to get them
Oh,
back
there
up.
she goes again. That's what they might
And
say.
I did palmistry at the X for a few years.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I want to get back to Seinfeld just for a second.
Yeah, okay.
It's funny because you said it was about nothing. When
Well,
the
that's
whole
what they always
and then
said.
at the very end, oh, I see. They always did say because when they did the proposal for a show, this is towards their last
Yeah.
episode, and in front of these producers, no one would dare do this. I would be so scared to do this. They saying, "Well, what's the show about?" The producer saying, "Well, it's about nothing." Have you
Yeah.
written? And they didn't write anything about it. But I think Monty Python's did the same thing because they didn't know what they were doing, and they still bought it.
Well, no, with the Pythons, they were rebelling against the tradition that you had to have a setup and a punchline.
Oh,
Setup,
okay.
punchline, and every sketch had to end on a strong punchline.
Yeah.
And they rebelled against that
Okay.
because they saw what Spike Milligan was doing with shows like Hugh,
Uh-huh.
where you know you would have a thing start and then it goes off stream of consciousness into another thing and
Yeah.
so forth. And they said, "Wow, this is what we want to be doing. This is incredible."
Right.
So that's what it was. And, you know, they were doing some of the sketches they had done on previous shows where they were just writers.
Right, right.
And there were two pre-Python shows. There was At Last the 1948 show,
Yeah.
and that had Tim Brooke Taylor, Marty Feldman, John Cleese, and Graham Chapman. And then there was another show also on the Rediffusion Network, you know, the other channel, because you just had BBC and commercial.
Yeah.
And it was called Do Not Adjust Your Set. And that had three other Pythons. That had Michael Palin, Terry Jones, Michael Palin, Terry Jones, Eric Idle, Denise Coffey, and David Jason, now Sir David Jason. You know, and it's amazing to see him doing this low knockabout comedy and stuff.
Yeah.
And you think, well, now he's this very distinguished actor
Yeah,
who
right.
is knighted.
Well,
But when they came over, like they came from. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hugh.
well, I was just going to say, who's that other guy that was in Spinal Tap?
Christopher Guest.
Yeah, Christopher Guest, and he's a lord.
Yes, he is Lord Hayden Guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Sounds even better.
Yeah, it's a hereditary title. He is Lord Hayden Guest.
Yeah, and he's a member of the House of Lords.
Yep.
And the guy who did the film Brazil, he ended up directing.
Terry Gilliam. Yeah,
He
he was
was-
one
he's
of the
part of
Python-
that.
No, he came from the States. He
Oh,
came
he did.
from Occidental College.
But he joined them or something.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he started doing animations on Do Not Adjust Your Set, the second series of it.
Okay.
Just as the links. Like there's a famous one, there's the Christmas card. And again, it's like stream of consciousness stuff. And the Python saw this is perfect to link the
So
sketches.
they looked for him. They saw his work and they looked for him.
Well, he got
'Cause
hired.
usually-
I can't remember how he got hired for Do Not Adjust Your Set, but
Yeah.
you know they found they just clicked. And
Okay.
Eric Idle sort of, you know, sometimes he would appear on At Last the 1948 show.
Yeah.
And there was even an episode where Tim Brooke Taylor appeared instead of Michael Palin because Michael Palin was sick.
Oh, okay. gosh.
Did you know that they say ADHD is related to autism and Asperger's? It's the way the brain jumps all over and you find out all
No,
these
Paul.
minutes,
See, why,
tiny
let's
details,
medicate
everything.
it out of existence.
Yeah.
No. The medication is like a training wheel so that you can put supports into place and you can actually stick with them. And a lot of people find, once they get used to that, they don't even need the meds.
Okay.
Interesting.
Hey, I want to ask
Yeah.
you, so what are you doing? Because you mentioned before we came on, one of the things is, well, here you are dressed, what are you, a burlesque artist?
Burlesque,
A
I
raconteuse? I mean, how else should people describe you? And
I'm
what-
the kind of person you would see on TV variety shows in the 70s when there were only 3 networks, so it made economic sense to pour all this money into a really lavish show because you knew you could get the viewers
Right.
to justify it. Nowadays it's such a fragmented TV universe.
But
Exactly.
even before the time of the TV, I think you'd be accepted at Gertrude Stein's house
Oh,
with all the
probably. I
artists in the
mean,
20s in
well-
France, in Paris.
Oh yeah, and I have been likened to Fanny Bryce, to Bette
Yeah.
Midler.
Yeah.
I mean, for Fanny Bryce, I even sing My Man, but in the original French.
well,
Oh, right.
maybe she can't do Gertrude Stein, Dan, but she can do Lauren Stein.
Stein,
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm a real life Victor Victoria. I've been a token straight girl in a number of drag shows.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you mentioned because you have this this foresight that comes with your witch forebears. It's 2012. What's going to happen, Pat?
I can't do stuff like that.
Why not?
I
Come on.
can't. It doesn't work that way. We can usually tell when someone's going to snuff it. Or,
Really?
if we enter a
That's not good.
contest. Yeah, Mom
Well.
will see little flashing lights. And
There's no right answer. It's an open-ended question, so
Yeah.
it's not,
No, I mean, when we were kids one time, we caught fireflies in a jar, and they got out. So Mom went into her room and saw all these flashing lights, and she freaked out. She thought, oh, my God, there's going to be a bloodbath. Because, if you see little flashing
Because
lights...
she was psychic too.
Psychotic. Mental illness does not run in my family. It practically gallops.
Oh, I see.
So what are you working on in the near future? Do you have any shows or any
Well-
performances or anything coming up?
Well, not really at the moment. I'm sort of preparing to go over to England in May. I'm saving every penny I can and working as many hours as I can. I had applied to perform in the London, England Burlesque Week, but they only pick a very small number of people, and I didn't get chosen this year, but I'm still going to be over there, so I'm going to catch some stuff.
Nice. Well, go see some plays anyway. So even
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're gonna. So there's a good chance you'll participate in this.
Well, not this year, but I'm going to apply for next year.
Okay.
Plus, we've got the Toronto Burlesque Festival coming up in July.
Yeah.
That's just been announced.
Are you going to be in that?
I always am.
Okay.
I always am. Singing something or other. Not quite sure yet. Going to be working on some more of my cabaret shows, singing show tunes and standards, and working on some more costumes. And right now I am in the midst of recording audiobooks, erotic romance novel audiobooks.
Can you give us a sample?
You want to get kicked off the internet?
Yes, we want to
I
get kicked
will
off.
tell you, I had the steamiest one of all that I just finished recording the other night because I've got a little home studio that I use. This one actually there was a 3-way in it, dual penetration.
I don't even know what that means.
I shouldn't.
no.
But very steamy stuff.
Well,
And it's
what-
published by Audio Minx.
All right, so people, I guess, can look that up. And
Yep.
what's the name of this particular book that you've got us all excited about now? That we
Well,
can Google it.
I've got my website, which has got clips and stuff like that on it.
Oh,
so.
before we do that, because we have this video that we brought. What is
it's
this
about
video?
4.5 minutes. It is sort of a really, really condensed version of the last show that I did, which was my cabaret act, Show Tune Standards and Sequins. And I did it at the Performing Arts Lodge, which is down on the Esplanade near St. Lawrence Market. And if you don't know about PAL, there's a bunch of them around North America. This one in Toronto was founded by Don Cullen, who founded and ran the legendary Bohemian Embassy Coffee House in Yorkville.
Right.
And he also played Scrooge in the Canadian Tire commercials.
And he
You know,
was
if you remember.
also
Yeah.
with
On
Wayne and Schuster.
Schuster, yeah.
We met him.
Well, I-
We
So,
interviewed
yeah.
him.
Did
we met him. Yes, you
he on the
interviewed him. I
show?
was with you.
I thought so.
Don
Yeah,
Coleman,
so
yes.
he founded PAL here.
Yeah.
And, it's fantastic. It's a co-op community of people who spent their lives in showbiz. So, there's people like Susan Cox who, she was with the legendary theatre workshop in Stratford East in London, England. And, then she came over here. She directed shows at Shaw. It's just fantastic. For a while, Billy May Richards, the voice of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, lived there. And it was so cool to watch it, knowing, hey, she lives across the street from me.
Yeah.
You mean from that cartoon?
Yes, and I'll tell you
where
something.
Bumbles bounce?
You may not believe it. You think they're getting rich off this? Standard contracts of the day covered royalties only for the first 5 years after original broadcast. Nobody thought of merchandising. Nobody thought of home video. Nobody thought it would still be aired 40 plus years after. So they never got one penny after 1969.
See, we thought that was just because they were Canadian.
Well, that was the standard contract of the day.
Yeah.
No one could have foreseen this stuff.
So what are we not foreseeing now that we should start to think about?
That's why ACTRA and the Screen Actors Guild and so forth are fighting so actively whenever there's new media to make sure their members are covered, so you don't get that kind of situation again.
Okay.
So I guess we can watch the video there.
We're going to have to, this is good. When we start watching the video, that's going to be the end of
Okay,
of
then
it.
don't watch the video yet.
Yeah. So we're not quite ready to see
Okay.
that, but we're going to go out with that, Pat. So,
And I've been staring at those things. Do you want to hold up that little pink thing there?
Yeah. Oh, this
see,
is
That
my
one?
pinky
Okay,
finger.
I just want to say,
can we show that? Yeah, there.
I pity the man who has to wear that size.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Well, the length is right, though. The length is right.
In your dreams, buddy.
It's a balloon.
Sure.
Blow
it is.
into.
But I do character voices too. The
Yeah.
2004 series of Mighty Machines, I did 31 different voices.
Wow.
Yeah, and I killed Julia Child.
Did
You
you?
really?
What do you mean?
Well, there
you
was
talk like
one.
Julia Child?
There was one episode where it was
She was
like a
doing the
mixer paver.
She was doing a turkey?
Well,
or
no,
what?
it was like a mixer paver describing how it chews up the old asphalt and mixes it with other stuff and then lays down fresh. And I thought this sounds like a chef describing how you make a cake.
Yeah.
So I started doing a chef. I thought, okay, a chef is French, maybe Quebecois. And they said, no, bigger. All right, so then we're going to do it like this.
Yeah.
No. And I thought, okay, well, Julia Child. I never even thought of doing Julia Child. So I did Julia Child, talking about how we do this, and then we lay down the road.
Yeah.
3 days later comes the news she's dead.
Oh, my.
I never even thought of doing Julia
Oh,
Child's
no.
voice before, and this.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the two events are not connected.
No,
but
maybe she
you
had
never know.
cancer and then died. You don't know.
Especially with your witch heritage.
Yeah.
Which spelled with a W, not a B.
Okay.
The Mighty Machines was a blast. If you've never seen how these voices are done, you go into this little padded room, and it's you and the microphone and a script and maybe a pencil for marking stuff.
Yeah.
And you just let fly. I mean, sometimes they knew what they wanted, other times they didn't.
Because it's an animation, right?
Yeah, and, sometimes you're lucky you're in there with more than one person, but for this one it was just me. And it was non-union, so no royalties, but it's still pretty cool that it's still carried on TV and you can get the DVDs.
And how do they work it then? Then they build the animation around your voice?
Well, this wasn't animation. This is live action footage. And then, they have the script there, and you just, you talk, and then they mix it out.
You got to get into it, right? You got to get into
You
the
do.
character,
I mean,
the spirit of that character.
There was one, was it like a helicopter? I'm a traffic helicopter, and I can just hang in the air and do the traffic report.
Wow.
And that same recording session, I did like a drill sergeant kind of an airplane. And then a moment later, but the best thing about being an ultralight is it's so much fun.
Well, you got
At which point it comes on the intercom, what are you breathing in there?
Yeah.
And that was when they realized, okay, she can do more stuff. So they had me do more and more.
31
different
voices, was it? Wow.
Altogether, yeah, out of,
awesome.
I think, 12 episodes.
Wow. Okay, Pat. So your website. So is that your kind of one point of contact for everything you do? People can get in touch with you there?
You can contact me. There's contact form direct on the website.
And what is the website?
It's www.p-rosebank, ROSEBANK.com.
Fabulous.
So you can see costumes in there. I mean, there was one costume I did for a Toronto burlesquer. It is covered in 40,000 Swarovski crystal rhinestones, which I glued on one at a time.
Who is Swarovski anyways? I see the stores around and all that.
Yeah, Daniel Swarovski founded the company, I think it was in the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
And rhinestones originally actually were crystals that were harvested off the bottom of the Rhine River.
Oh, I see.
In England, they call them diamante, which I think sounds a little more romantic.
Yeah.
But you've got Swarovski, which is thought of as the absolute gold standard.
Yeah.
And then there's also Preciosa, which is a slight notch below. I actually prefer Preciosa because they're a little bit cheaper, but to my eye, they sparkle
They're
just
still
as
pretty
bright.
good. Getting back to
Swarovski
you.
has a lot more different colors and different finishes.
Getting back
though.
to you. Did you just pick up all these things over the years? You didn't go to Juilliard or all that? No. You went to English literature.
Yeah, I got a BA in English, and there is a song called "What Do You Do with a BA in English?" And there is a damn good reason why there is a song called "What Do You Do with a BA in English?"
Yeah.
But I took drama all through high school, got the drama award for having the highest marks each year.
Yeah.
Then I got the award when I left.
I took drama too in high school. Wow.
And always performing stuff, going to the Second City on my birthday. I took improv at Second City, took some writing courses there with Joe Flaherty.
Yeah, yeah.
Just always loved it. But my parents...
I love Joe Flaherty's Dracula.
Oh, yeah, Count Floyd. Do you have the EP?
Count
It's a
Floyd.
really rare EP, Count Floyd.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Yes, I do, and it's signed.
You'll have to bring it back sometime, Pat. And we have to stop asking you questions
Oh,
because as
bollocks.
us raconteurs, we can go all day, but we're all out of time
I
here.
wanted to tell you about, 85 years ago, my great aunt was murdered just outside here.
I know.
And
Things
At
have
11
gotten a
years
lot
of age.
better. Things are a
Yes.
lot safer around here now.
Hey, if one man who's seriously mentally ill runs berserk with a knife and you happen to be in the way,
That's
you
it.
know?
Yep.
But not to end on a downer.
Well-
her sister, who normally ran the errand, she was running for the first time that night. She lived to be 97, outliving everybody else in the family.
Made up for it.
Okay.
Yeah, the women on mom's side of the family, terrible nutrition, terrible lifestyle, everything, but you can't kill them. We call them cockroaches.
Oh, I see.
And we're proud of it.
The cockroach
Wait,
family.
don't get me going on the cockroaches. I can tell you how to kill them, but that's another show.
Well, they make a lovely crunch when you stomp
Oh.
them.
I know, and they taste great.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, Pat. Thanks a lot. That's it for the show. Actually, we're going to watch the video.
Yep.
So this is we're going to wrap the show up. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at noon for more Liquid Lunch right here on thatchannel.com. See you then.
My holy face, oh blind won't see it, that I'm your mate. So build the palace where you're the Shah, and we'll embrace in that Shangri-La if you run away. Some matinee from where you are. Close your eyes and trust in me. I hold your hand in mine, dear. I press it to my lips. I take a healthy bite from your dainty fingertips. I love to hear them shouting "Viva" to the diva. Very lovely that must be. That's what I'm signed for. That's what I'm dying for. Art is calling for me. Now I'm positively melting in this. So, let's sing the ultimate song by the ultimate naughty girl, the devil's assistant, Lola. Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. And if your voice sounds like it's coming through a strainer, sing it out the sink like Marlena, and soon you'll be compared to Landelania. J'ai donné tout ce que j'ai, mon amour et tout mon cœur à mon homme. And that laugh that wrinkles your nose you gotta pick up the knack to stab in the back. Long as that back ain't mine.